Your job is stuck in waiting past its start time with no errors. The culprit? Date conditions defaults to 0, silently ignoring your schedule. Let's break down JIL attributes complete reference, how it works, and the exact mistake behind that failure. JIL, or Job Information Language, is the configuration language for CA workload automation I. It defines every aspect of a job, its name, schedule, dependencies, and error handling in a flat key-value format. Understanding each attribute is critical because defaults, like date conditions defaulting to 0, can silently break your workflow. Identity attributes are the first things AutoSys reads. They define who the job is, what type it is, and where it runs. Without these, the job cannot exist. Let's look at a typical definition. Here's a basic identity block. The job name must be unique in the AutoSys instance. The machine attribute is critical. If the agent is down, all jobs pointing to it fail. Use global machine groups for failover. Scheduling attributes control when a job runs. The most important is date conditions. It must be set to 1 for any time-based scheduling to work. Without it, start times, days of week, and run calendar are ignored. Here's a simple schedule. Run at 2 a.m. on weekdays. Note that date conditions is explicitly set to 1. If you omit it, the job will never run at the specified time. Dependencies define what must happen before a job starts. Conditions use functions like success and failure. Boxes group jobs. A job inside a box waits for the box to be running. This job waits for upstream job to succeed. It belongs to a box and has a priority load of 10. Max run alarm will alert if it runs longer than 60 minutes. Always set output files. Without std_err file, error output goes to AutoSys's internal log, which is hard to access. Debugging a failure at 2 a.m. without logs is painful. Set both stdout and std_err files. Use consistent naming like log/autosys/jobname, out, and er. Append mode with prefix prevents overwriting logs. Failure handling attributes control retries, timeouts, and notifications. N retries is often misunderstood. It's the number of retries after the initial failure, so total attempts equals N retries plus 1. This job retries up to 3 times after failure, alerts on final failure, and terminates after 90 minutes. It also acts as a box terminator. If it fails, the entire box is killed. These commands manage job definitions. Insert job creates a new job or updates an existing one. Update job changes attributes without affecting the schedule. Delete job removes the job entirely. First, we insert a job, then update its machine, then delete it. Note that insert job can also update if the job already exists. Always use update job for attribute changes to avoid confusion. Calendars centralize scheduling logic. Global variables like %% db host %% are resolved at job submission time, not definition time. This allows environment-specific overrides without changing job definitions. Here we define a calendar for end-of-month business days and apply it to a job. The exclude calendar removes holidays. Changing the calendar affects all jobs referencing it. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The engineer assumed setting start times alone makes the job run at that time. But date conditions defaults to 0, so AutoSys ignored start times entirely. The job only runs on condition, but since no condition was set, it stayed in waiting forever. The root cause is that date conditions defaults to 0, so start times is ignored and the job never leaves waiting. The fix is to explicitly set date conditions. 1. The fix is simple. Add date conditions. 1 to the JIL definition and reinsert the job. Now AutoSys evaluates start times and the job runs as scheduled. Always explicitly set date conditions when using time-based scheduling. This is the most common production incident. Without date conditions, 1. Start times is decorative. The job will only run on condition or manual trigger, silently stalling your workflow. This is the exact mistake from the incident. Without date conditions, 1. Start times is ignored. The job never runs and no error is generated. Always pair date conditions with time attributes. condition job names are case-sensitive. If the upstream job is defined as upstream job, but you write upstream job, the condition never evaluates to true and your job waits indefinitely. Never reuse a job name. AutoJS treats insert job as an update if the name exists, silently overwriting your previous definition. Always use unique names. Without std_err file, error messages disappear into dev/null. When a job fails, you have no logs to inspect. Make it a standard to always include both output files. nretries counts retries after the initial failure. So nretries, 3 means up to 4 runs total. If each run takes 30 minutes, the job could run for 2 hours before failing. In AutoSys R11.3 and earlier, date conditions defaults to 0 as stated. However, in R12.0+, the default remains 0 for backward compatibility, but the documentation now strongly recommends always setting it explicitly. No version changes the default to 1. The article mentions watchfile in passing, but doesn't show its syntax. Watchfile triggers a job when a file appears or is modified, independent of time-based scheduling. It's useful for event-driven workflows like ETL ingestion. The article notes max run alarm, but doesn't emphasize that its default is 0, no alarm. In production, always set max run alarm to a non-zero value, e.g., 60, to catch runaway jobs early. Without it, a job that runs longer than expected will not trigger any alert, silently delaying downstream jobs. When debugging a stalled job, first check the effective attributes with autorep_q. Verify date conditions is set to 1. Check condition evaluation. If logs are missing, ensure std_err file is set. Use sendEvent to kill hung jobs. Let's run through some common interview questions. What does date conditions do? Master switch for time-based scheduling, must be 1 for start times to work. Difference between nretries and manual restart. Nretries is automatic retries after initial failure. Manual restart bypasses retry logic. What attributes control failure notifications? Alarm if fail. 1 enables WCC alarm, notification, mail with email address. And a few frequently asked questions. What does date conditions do? Controls whether time-based scheduling is active, set to 1 to enable. How many times does a job run with nretries? 3, 4 times total, initial plus 3 retries. What happens without term runtime? Hung job runs forever, blocking downstream jobs. To summarize, always set output files, explicitly enable date conditions for time scheduling, understand retry counting, and set timeouts to prevent runaway jobs. These practices will save you from production incidents. Ready to go deeper? Up next, JIL insert job, update job, delete job, then box jobs and nested boxes in AutoSys, then file watcher jobs in AutoSys. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.